Hey y'all, it's the official Bianca Media. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Before we get started, you probably know the routine. Go ahead, subscribe, hit a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell. I know it's been a second since I've done like an official sit down formal talk through video, but this came to me about a week ago, and I was just kind of thinking and brainstorming ideas, and the idea came to me just to talk about the viewpoint of being a caregiver. As you all know, I have lupus. I was diagnosed with lupus back in 2009, so we're coming up on a decade now that I have had this chronic illness and have been through a whole bunch of different stages with it. And so for me right now, it is for the most part under control. I have a couple of doctor's appointments coming up, and I am looking to take you all with me and kind of, you know, walk through that process with me, and you all be there. So look for those videos at the top of the year. But anyway, so I figured, hey, there are a lot of people who've been commenting saying my brother, my sister, my son, my daughter, a friend of mine. And I think there are some things that if you know someone or you're living with someone with lupus or chronic illness, there are some tips that I'm offering to you as a person who has been on that other side. So I hope you enjoyed the video. All right, y'all, so I got my notes here, and I created a lot of these tips based on one, research, and then two, what I experienced myself. Living with a chronic illness and having a support system is very, very important. So if you are a family member, if you're a friend, I think what you do can really impact how the person handles the disease, how they move forward, how if they're able to get better, the illness maybe goes into remission. I mean, you are an integral part in this person's day-to-day life. So a lot of these tips are through my own research and through my own experience. When I was initially diagnosed, I was at home, and it was very new to my parents. My parents didn't know really much about it, but my mom came with me a lot of the times to my doctor's appointments and asked a lot of questions that in my early 20s, I was not thinking about even asking. So sometimes having an older person there, or parent or a guardian or aunt, you are able to ask questions that that person with the illness is not even thinking about. So you are very, very important, so know that. And also, you are appreciated. Even if the person does not say it every single day, they appreciate it, they are thankful. So know that you are very much appreciated. So the first tip that I'm offering to caregivers is very simple. Just listen. A lot of the times, the person with the illness is going to be downloading just a lot of thoughts and feelings on you, and they sometimes are not looking for a response. They're not looking for a solution. They just want somebody to sit there and listen to them and be empathetic and just be understanding. You may not understand, but just being a listening ear and probing them, like, okay, how do you feel about that? Or, what makes you think that? Or, do you want to do something about that situation in particular? Or what questions are you going to ask next when you go to the doctors? Like, just probe and just listen to what they have to say. They are not, sometimes, the majority of the time, not looking for a response. So listening is very, very important. And even if you don't live with that person, maybe you just call them up and you're just listening to how they're feeling and what they're going through and what new tests they had to be run today, or if their eye was swollen shut or their feet are aching and swollen and they can't put on shoes. I mean, they're going to be going through a lot of different feelings and a lot of different symptoms in the beginning stages when they're trying to figure out what it is. They have to take medication. It can be a lot. So they are just downloading everything that's up here and in here onto a listening ear. So that's tip number one. I know it's really easy. You're like, oh, of course, but a lot of times, if you are a parent, if you are a husband, if you are a wife, you're looking to find a solution and push them and say, well, what can I do about it? Well, I'm gonna fix this. And sometimes it's not even, that's not all that. I love the energy, but all that energy sometimes is not even necessary. You just being there and listening is very, very important. Tip number two, research. Do all that you can to find out what their illness is, what symptoms are there, what medications they may be taking, what doctors they have to see, what nonprofit groups are in the area that could offer help or a support group. You can sometimes be there in the doctor's office and ask a question, like I said before, that they might not be thinking about. I mean, that was something that my mom did. She was there and able to ask a couple of questions that I wasn't thinking about, as far as like, you know, medications and pregnancy and complications of the medications and how to maintain it, and keeping track of all the doctor's appointments or paperwork and billing and all those kind of things. So research is very important so that you go in equipped, and you can be an advocate. You can definitely be there and be an advocate and talk to the doctor, be there with their doctor's appointments, and with a fresh set of eyes, be able to probe a little bit more sometimes with the doctor than the person sitting there dealing with it. They may be in a fog. Their brain may be fogged. A lot of times with lupus patients, they have a brain fog and they'll just like totally forget simple things, and that can happen. So you being there is just that extra layer of protection for them, and then be an advocate for them when they are at the doctor's office. They're picking up their medications. So research is very important. Tip number 3, still act normal. Okay, if you're a friend, still invite them out to things. Still maybe say, hey, you know what, do you want to come with us out to dinner? Maybe we go to brunch. Still try to incorporate the activities that they once loved with their new way of living. Maybe you all don't go to an evening movie. Maybe you go to a matinee on a Saturday afternoon. Maybe you go to a matinee on a Tuesday when they are free, but still include them in everyday activities and things that they used to love. If they can't go rock climbing, maybe you all just go on a walk or something at the park. Let's say they enjoy cooking. Instead of having to chop onions and grate cheese and all that kind of stuff, maybe you get things that are pre-packaged, already chopped up onions or already shredded cheese that they can make their favorite dish with. So really kind of think about how you can modify an activity that may be very, very strenuous into something that they can do and that works better with their new lifestyle. So don't act weird now. Just still you know, seek to enjoy their favorite activity. Instead of walking around the mall for hours on end, maybe you say, hey, you know what, we're going to do some online shopping. I'm going to come over, and you know what, I'm going to bring your favorite drink that you would get at Starbucks or something, and we're going to, you know, I'm going to bring you an Auntie Anne's pretzel or something like that, and we kind of like have our own mall in the house. Maybe they can't get up out of the bed and go get their nails and feet done. Maybe you help them out and you say, I'm gonna be your manicurist there, do a pedicure for you today or something like that. But find ways to modify activities that they always enjoyed. Tip number 4, don't compare. Do not compare, okay? What does that mean? The flu is nothing, okay, compared to living with a chronic illness like lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or any autoimmune disease. So please do not, after a person with lupus has shared with you how they're feeling and you're like, oh yeah, I know what that feels like. Okay. That is a huge pet peeve of mine, and especially when I was diagnosed several years ago, back in 2009, and people would say that. It's just like, but the flu, you're better, right? You know what I'm saying? Like you got well. Lupus is not like that. Rheumatoid arthritis is not like that. Other autoimmune diseases are not like that. It's something where I think people are trying to like find a commonality and say like, oh, I'm trying to be compassionate. I feel for you. I once knew what it was like. But I mean, it's almost like for, let's say, a woman having a baby. I cannot, regardless of how much my cramps hurt or something like that during my cycle, those little cramps cannot compare to someone having contractions, okay? I'm not gonna be like, oh girl, you having contractions? I've had cramps before. Really? No, it doesn't compare. So that's why even let's say within the community of people with a chronic illness, I'm never going to compare my illness or how I feel with somebody with MS. Like, it's totally different. Again, we have to just listen. You have to be just empathetic and seek to understand, and not just always jump to just talking and make it about yourself. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that makes sense. And maybe that's not a tip, but just a pet peeve, but I just had to say that because I remember thinking back like, what? No, the flu, I understand. I've had the flu, and when people with autoimmune disease and you get the flu, like, you're touching death, like you're knocking on death's doorknob, like a door, like the flu, girl, it was too much. It took me out. But yeah, pet peeve, don't compare, just listen. So my fifth and final tip for caregivers is help the person find a support group. Help them build a community. You know, let's say you are the spouse, or you are the child who's, you know, taking care of their parent. Build a community, you know, whether it's through your church, whether it's through family, whether it's through coworkers, people you grew up with, neighbors. You know, do what you can to kind of build a support group for yourself as the caregiver, because you're going to need it. So in the earlier years when I was first diagnosed and just getting a handle on the medications and stuff, it just really threw my world in just a tornado. You know what I'm saying? It was really hard to manage, and then manage having my own apartment, and then having a career and going to work every day and figuring that out. So it was a lot to handle. But you know, I definitely had a support system when I was in DC, because my parents, they were, you know, hours away. But I had a couple friends that I could call on and depend on. The guy I was dating at the time, he was very supportive and understanding, and still made me feel beautiful and pretty when my feet were swollen, or I was swollen shut, or if I was just feeling kind of angry and upset and frustrated. So having just not only that community and support system, but also branching out and reaching to a support group. So whether it's through Lupus Foundation of America, or it's, you know, going to your doctors and finding out, hey, what support groups do you have, or hooking up with support services at the hospital and a case manager and saying, hey, like, I need help, you know, I can't go to work, I'm on disability. Doing that is going to be very, very helpful for the person who is, you know, has the chronic illness. So if you as the caregiver can help create a community and a support system for the person with the chronic illness, I mean, you're going to be a lifesaver, because you're going to need a break, you know, especially depending on the severity of what they're dealing with. And you're there hand and foot, and they're just laid up in the bed and they can't really do much. You got to help them to the bathroom, or you got to help feed them. It's a lot. So you as the caregiver need that support system, to where when you need to kind of take a mental day, somebody else can step in and help out and do what they can to help the person with the chronic illness, you know, get to a better place, and help them through their symptoms, and you know, get them to a place where they are a lot healthier than what they are. So I hope this was helpful. You see in the title, it's a part 1, because I'm definitely going to come back and do a part 2. I don't know if I'm going to bring like another person who has a chronic illness in, or maybe bring in my mom or somebody like that. I don't know, we'll see. But there's so much here to unpack, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. These are some just immediate things, to where if you were just being diagnosed, or if you've been diagnosed for a little while and maybe somebody new has entered your life, you can send this to them, and these can be just some quick tips just to help maintain that relationship between you all, because it can strain a lot of people, it can strain a lot of relationships, and you want to be sure that both of you all emotionally are healthy, and this part of your life doesn't take a toll on the relationship. And it's so crazy, because I watch reality TV, y'all. I know, terrible. But I watch the Real Housewives of Atlanta, right? And so if you watch the Real Housewives of Atlanta, you know that Greg, Nene's husband, has stage 4 colon cancer. I think it's stage 4, but it's really, it's far along to where it's very aggressive. And he has colon cancer, and on the show you see it playing out, and he's going through it. You know, she just had like a prayer service for him. That is very important, you know, keep that person prayed up and mentally and spiritually in a good, positive place. But yeah, so just kind of on social media, it's been playing out to where she has said that he's being mean and evil and all this kind of stuff, and it's kind of sad and it's disappointing. And especially, you know, they're married, and it's through great times, richer, poor, sick, healthy. I mean, you're supposed to be there for it all, but it can put a strain on a relationship. So just talking about this so timely because of Greg and Nene Leake's kind of situation playing out and how she's caring for him. And I understand, like, his life could end. That is not an easy pill to swallow. And then you start looking back on your life as an older man and his kids and his past relationships, and you're trying to right your wrongs, or you're looking, it's a lot to handle, to knowing that at any point in time your life could end. That is not a good feeling. So I just send positive vibes to them. I know, kind of random, you're like, Bianca, you talking about reality TV people, but it's real life. You know, when you have somebody going through a cancer or chronic illness, like, that is very, very tough. So as a caregiver, when they are at their worst and they're angry and they're upset, you know, definitely share your concerns with them, but know that, like, think about their life ending. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is where they're coming from, and it's a lot to handle. So just continue to pour into them, continue to love them, continue to be positive. And I know it's tough, so I'm sending nothing but positive vibes and prayers out for you all who are caregivers, because you sacrifice a lot. You sacrifice a whole bunch. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll check you later.